Do not think a jinn will make you rich, because if that was the case, I would be a very wealthy man, and I'm not. A jinn cannot change your life. A jinn cannot make you rich. While Allah did give jinns power, we need to first understand how a jinn can assist us.
Salam and welcome to AHM Podcast, where we aim to make magic more accessible and bridge the gap between traditions by seeking understanding from scholars and magicians. You guys are in for a treat today because our guest on this episode is a professional practitioner of Islamic Theurgy. Yes, you heard that right. Not an amateur or someone who is well versed in the subject, a real life professional with more than a decade's worth of experience to his name in this field. His name is Ali, and I'm sincerely grateful to him for accepting to go on the record to shed light on this very secretive and oft misunderstood tradition.
Thank you, Ali, for accepting my invitation, taking the time out of your busy schedule. Without further ado, I would like to ask you our first question. Please tell us more about the path which led you to your current practice.
Someone in my family had a problem due to the mistakes that I made. And because I couldn't help this person, I also felt helpless myself. So I took it upon myself to learn this ilm to help this certain individual. But I'm not gonna lie, I did enjoy the whole paranormal concept. I enjoyed the jinn. I didn't know much about it. I wasn't really religious back then. I know what my mom told me, the jinn exist. The Surat Nas, Surat Fatih, a couple of things. So since I was a little kid, I always liked this stuff, but I never really got into it. But during this time of my life, I was looking to buy something, and I found something else that caught my interest. So I purchased it. And after purchasing this, it didn't really impact me, but it ended up impacting someone really close to me, and it almost destroyed this individual's life. Even though this individual now doesn't look at it like this, I know what this person went through was due to my own ignorance. And when I couldn't help this person, I said let me see what I can do to help this person. So what happened was, after this individual had a spiritual issue, I called my mom. And I told her, look, something happened. And she ended up telling my father, I go to my mom, we always end up going to our mom. Something like this, it's not like it's a problem I can solve on my own. I went back to my mom due to the nature of the problem. She told my father, and the father called a sheikh to our house. And the sheikh I knew of, he's a good friend of my father, and I told him what was going on. So he said, okay, take me to this individual. And while we were driving to this individual's house, I started to get to know him, and I was like, this person really knows what he's talking about. And then we would travel together. He will introduce me to people he knew, who I learned from. So it just became a really long journey. But the person who helped the individual that got negatively impacted by my actions also became my teacher.
Of course, now we're talking about your studies, and a lot of people are looking to get more in depth into Arabic magic. Of course, when we want to study something, we think about books, which brings me on to my next question. In your experience, can Arabic magic, specifically theurgy, be learned through studying books and manuscripts alone?
You know what? There is books out there on how to do surgery. There's books out there how to build a motor of a car. There's books out there that tell you how to build a house. So you're telling me if I go read these books for 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 years, I can go do surgery on you? No, absolutely not. You need that guidance. You need that individual. When a person goes to medical school, they do fellowship, they do residency. And what do they do in that time? Even though they have the knowledge on how to do it, they shadow a person who's already done it. So they can see how he's doing it. I technically know how to do it because I read the book, but knowing how to do something is not as actually when you physically do it. It's different. So yeah, I think you need a teacher. Reading books, I would say it's good for knowledge, for fun. But if you think you can read a book, and you might get a reaction, you might get something. But to say you can become a practitioner from books and manuscripts, absolutely not.
Thank you for clarifying that because it is what people usually think about. And I love the metaphor that you used about surgeons. You can study all you want, but at some point you got to grab the scalpel and cut through the skin. Blood will run out. So that's why you need someone behind you who's going to give you the confidence and also guide you through the process. So I love that metaphor and thank you for it.
And especially if you want to learn the Arabic magic and you don't speak Arabic language, you're gonna need someone. I mean, you could be mispronouncing the words. You know, I can go pick up a book, even if it's written in English. I gotta make sure I'm reciting the words correctly, or it's pointless. Even if you do a ruqya and you do Ayatul Kursi, and if you can't pronounce it right, I mean, technically you might still get an impact, but it's not gonna be as good as it would be if you were pronouncing the words correctly and know what they mean as well.
Which brings me on to my next question, because you said about the guidance, right? And part of the guidance process in Arabic magic, there is this huge emphasis on the importance of idn or ijaza. So could you clarify a little bit more about the importance of obtaining that permission from our teachers?
So, you know, oftentimes people make contact with us and say, hey, I want to read this name of Allah. Can I have your ijaza? You don't need ijaza to recite the name of Allah. I mean, is there any hadith where the Prophet said, hey, you know, I give you ijaza to recite this name? No. I think ijaza, the word ijaza, when the teacher says, okay, I give you ijaza, I don't think they're even using that. I mean, they're using the word correctly, but they're not doing their part to the fullest. When a teacher gives you ijaza to do something, it's more than me just saying, okay, I allow you to do. I have to do my part to make sure you succeed at whatever I give you ijaza for, inshallah. So if I want to go ahead and do a ritual to contact the entity, and I go to a teacher, a real teacher, you know, who has a Khadim, and I say, look, I want to go ahead and try to contact so-and-so entity. Do I have your permission? And he says, yes. He still has to do his part now. He's not going to say, I give you ijaza and that's it, forget about you. Ijaza goes with far more than me just verbally saying it's okay. The teacher has to do his part, which might involve fasting, keeping a spiritual eye on you. So I feel if you do get that ijaza, you have to make sure the person you got it from is doing their part. And is ijaza needed? I think it is needed for things that consist of contacting specific beings. I would say ijaza is more needed for ritualistic work of contacting jinns and Khadams. Do I say it's absolutely necessary? If you are a well-trained practitioner who has been doing this ilm for 5-6 years and you have the basic knowledge, no, I don't think you need ijaza. But if you're someone new in this field, you've been in for 1 or 2 years, even if you've been in for longer, but you know you really haven't put much work into it, I think ijaza is important because ijaza can actually prevent problems from occurring in your life. Because when a teacher is doing, like, let's say if I do a ritual to contact an entity and I make mistakes in it, you know, the teacher's spiritual eye and his work can take care of those mistakes so that they don't negatively impact you. So while I don't say it's necessary, I do believe it's important for some things.
And as I like to say, there's wisdom behind it. You know, it doesn't exist for nothing, but people take it to extremes always. For example, as you said yourself, I mean, why would you need permission to recite a certain divine name? Like you said, there's no history of that in the hadith by Prophet ﷺ to give us ijaza to do this or that practice. Everything he did, it was for everyone. But if you're going to contact, let's say, a king who's reputably dangerous, it's good to have the judgment of your sheikh, your guide, who will tell you, look, you're not really ready for this. You know, you're at serious risk of hurting yourself, creating problems in your life. So you know what? I won't give you ijaza to do this certain ritual or to contact this certain type of being. But also in other cases, you see people saying, oh, you know, I give you this ritual and I give you ijaza with it. Some people, they say, I will give you the ritual, but I don't give you ijaza until you pay me for it.
No, this is BS. And something else that's really important. A lot of people don't know this. Let's say I want to do a ritual to contact Zoba. It's better for me to get ijaza from a sheikh who has done that same ritual and succeeded in it. You just listen. You just can't go to any sheikh and While any sheikh can make it seem like I can give you ijaza, you really need to know that sheikh and what they are capable of. While you might not know every single detail, but you should have an idea of that sheikh because you want to get this person ijaza, so you want to have some information on them. So, from my knowledge, it is good to get ijaza on a ritual or reading you want to do from a person who's already done it and succeeded in it. And then your chances of success will be much higher.
And this is a point that I really want the listeners to understand. And by the way, Ijaza is permission, as we said, and not necessary for everything, but also getting Ijaza not from anyone, someone who has done it before to ensure our success and also our safety. So thank you for clarifying that point. So this ilm, as we have discussed privately, is like an ocean. Each time we go into another layer, is like there's another layer underneath and another layer underneath. So people who are foreign to this tradition, who don't know anything about it, we hear about so many sub-disciplines, right? Ilmu al-Huruf, ilmu al-Khodam, ilmu al-Awfaq. What are some of these most important sub-disciplines and what did they generally consist of? I know this is, a very elaborate question, but just to maybe situate people between the different sub-disciplines of Arabic magic and theurgy.
Well, I think it really depends on each individual, is what they want to accomplish. Like, this individual might just want to be good at making telsums. Ilmu al-Huruf is fine for him. Well, the other one wants to conjure. So I feel that sub-disciplines are based on what the individual wants to accomplish, what their goal is. You don't need to study every single area. And studying every single area will only lead to confusion. Look, people need to keep it simple. This person wants to learn ilmu Huruf, ilmu Khadim. You want to learn everything. How are you going to learn everything? You really got 10, 15 years to dedicate? Majority of the people that get into this stuff want to contact the Jinn. That's what it is. It's just the truth. So if that's what you want to do, that's what your goal is, then focus on that area that make your goal come true. Everything else is a secondary. Now, if you want to become a practitioner, you want to help people, then I get it. You need to learn various different knowledges. But if you want to be a helper, which way do you want to do it? Do you want to do the ruqya? Do you do it with the wees? Do you want to do it to talsims? You have to pick. So, there isn't a correct way to answer your question because it's based on the individual. If somebody wants to go a method of talismans, then they learn that method. There's no point of him learning ilmu or Khadim. So when I started learning it, I started with ilmu Huruf, the talismans. And I wanted the Khadim ilm too, but my teacher said, no, because it's pointless for you. Learn this first, master it, and then we'll move on. But I personally feel the ones that are most important in this field is not based on my opinion. It's based on what you want to accomplish. And from what I've seen, majority of the people want to talk to entities. So I would say it's ilmu Khadim. Anything related with entities that makes you get in contact with them faster. One can't say, well, this area is the best for Arabic magic. No. Because, even with ilmu Khadim, it's various methods. Do you want to do it through different Qasams? Do you want to do it through ayats of the Quran? If you do the ayats of the Quran, you need to know your Arabic well. You need to know the Quran well. So it basically matters. Focus on your goal, what you really want to accomplish, and then revolve around that. Forget about everything else. When I would meet different teachers, they would ask me, why do you want to learn this? What is your point? I never had a teacher that said to me, okay, I'll teach you. They would ask me, what do you want to learn and why do you want to learn it? Well, I want to get in contact with jinns. Okay. Then they would tell me, this is what we're going to do. Nobody would say to me, oh, you want to learn ilm? Okay, let's start over here. They would ask me my goal, and then based on my goal, they would give me my teachings. And that's the proper way to do it. Because then you're focusing on accomplishing your goal. You're not focusing on everything else. The goal itself is to be good at what you want, what you want to accomplish. So just focus on that thing and the areas that reflect it.
And this brings us to our next question. And this is in comparison to other types of magic out there. We know there are many, many, many systems, many traditions. Magic is international and it's something that is worldwide. So here, when we talk about Arabic magic, we say that there are different sub-disciplines. most people in the Western world, they say, okay, black magic, white magic, now you even have gray magic. But us in Arabic magic, there's no such thing from what I've seen as black magic, white magic. They call it Simiya, ilmu hikmah, or Olwi, Sifli. So I would like you to develop more about the difference between these classifications in Arabic magic.
Well, I mean, there's good and bad. The Alawi, you're not going to hurt anyone. There's no use of Shayateen Jinn. It's pretty much based on, from my perspective, the Quran. Using the Quran to help people, using that knowledge to help others. Ruqya in a form, but more deeper. Whereas Sifli is now you're using Qasams, you're using names, you're contacting Shayateens. Your focus is based on a creation of Allah helping you, not Allah Himself. So when a person, and this is like, look, a lot of people want to be a practitioner. They want to be the Sifli king, yet they don't know what the hell they're talking about. A lot of time what I see is just a game. It's something that they created. It's this mindset that they created that makes them think they are something great when they're not. When you do real Sifli Amal, you know you're doing it. You're not asking Allah for help. You're contacting the Shayateen Jinn. You're reading specific Qasams. And when you do that, you realize that your Iman has gotten weaker. Your focus becomes on asking this entity or that entity for help. And this is Sifli. Where Alawi, your focus still is with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You're seeking assistance through Allah. You're helping people through Allah. Now, there may be various ways of doing this, but in my personal opinion, the best way to do Alawi is strictly related with the Quran. Whereas Sifli is not related with the Quran, unless, it could be in a way when you're disrespecting it, or when you're using the Quran in a negative way, writing the ayats backward. I consider this Sifli. But Sifli and Alawi, it's simple, it's clear cut. One is away from Allah, while the other is right with Allah, close to Allah. I'm not going to lie. I'm going to be honest with you. Sifli can be used to help others. It can. Sifli can be used to break black magic. It can. I mean, somebody might disagree. No, you can fight fire with fire, and the one who has the stronger Rohaniya, stronger Jinn or Shayateen will win. But the way you're conducting your business, the way your ethics is just improper. Like a person might use a haram way to get married, and even though they got married, everything is happy, they pursue that woman in a wrong way by using a spell on her. This is wrong. This is Sifli. Even though the outcome is what they want, they didn't achieve it the right way. Therefore, there's no barakah in it. There's no blessings in it, so it's bound to fail. When you get treatment via Sifli, whatever you accomplish, that gain you got, will be short term, and it will be followed by more problems. Well, the Alawi might take longer, but at least what you get will be permanent.
Thank you for that explanation. And now we move on to our next question. And this is a topic that is really important. People, when they think of Arabic magic or anything related to Arabic magic, they think of the text called the Picatrix, Ghayatul Hakim, the aim of the wise. And, so far it has been the central text in Arabic magic. Do you think that's true? And also, do you know of any other text that you think need more of an attention from the Western audience?
Well, it's Picatrix because it's written in English. Would I say that's the center of Arabic magic? No, I would say something Ma'arif. Issue is not it's not written in English, so people in the West don't know about it. If it was written in English, it would have been much more popular than Picatrix. Picatrix, I haven't really looked much into it. From my understanding, it's mostly with talismans and astronomical signs. Would I say that's the main method of Arabic magic? No, absolutely not. I feel this ilm can be a part of another ilm, but I don't think it is the main ilm. For example, I can use the right ingredients, the date or time to construct a talisman or an amulet to get a better effect. If I want to make a specific amulet for helping a relationship, it's better for me to do it 30 minutes before Fajr, and then do the incense part 20 minutes after Fajr. So while I do think they may make a difference in the effect of the talisman, I don't think that timing and ingredients is the main thing. It's part of it. Even in the Samsung Arab, there's names of Allah used. You know, there's those are still used. So wouldn't it be better to say that Arabic magic also has some involvement of the Quran? Even some of the Qasams you read, there's names of Allah in it. There's ayats in it. Why don't we mention this? Why we always mention Samsung Arab? Even in Samsung Arab, the author is still praising Allah. Why are we looking at this book? He's praising Allah. He's talking about Allah created. Why are we going towards the main book, the Quran? The issue is because the Quran is the Quran. It's so well published. It's a form of guidance. People think that's all it is. There's nothing more in it. No, that's not. That's so wrong. We're so busy on looking for these occult books. And even when we find these occult books, there is a mention of Allah in there. There's mention of ayats in there. You know, they're constructing talismans with names of Allah in it. Why are we looking at this? Why are we looking at the fact, well, hey, this occult book mentioned Allah and the diagram in it had a name of Allah, and this book I hear had this ayah in it. Why are they using names of Allah and ayats? Well, maybe that plays a huge role in the effect of that talisman or that ritual. So we shouldn't be only focused on these occult books. Look at what these occult books are mentioning that's alike, that's similar. That's the Quran. It's names of Allah. So let's put our focus on that. And I think we'll be much more successful in our work. But the issue is we don't want to do that because it's so widely used. It's the Quran. It's normal. It's not a big deal. You know, it's only for guidance. It's only for ibadah. It's only for praying. It's according to who? You know, the Sahabas, when the man got stung in his leg by the scorpion, they put his hand and they read Surah Al-Fatiha and they healed him. Our Nabi never taught him that. Yet that's something they took upon themselves to do and it benefited. So I'm not saying we should experiment with the Quran. What I'm saying is we should give it more credit. We should, you know, think more about it. Why are all these Arabic occult manuscripts have some name of Allah or ayats? Why? Why isn't it just only names of jinns or only symbols of astronomy? Why is there a name of Allah involved? I think that plays a huge role. And when you look at it from that perspective, that point, look at it from that point, and you start getting more involved in the Quran, I assure you, your work will be more successful. This is what I noticed. When I started this ilm, my focus was the jinns and the qasams, because it was more interesting. It's, you know, it's mysterious and it's hard to find. And you got to work. You got to go find the teacher who lives in the wood to give you this special qasam. Oh, it's so powerful. And, you know, you read it 50,000 times and nothing happens. Yet if I read this name of Allah 1,000 times, something happens. But we don't look at the Quran in that way. I sometimes feel like we feel it's not powerful enough to do that when we're so wrong.
As you said, you know, we're focused on these books of magic, these occult manuscripts. And bottom line is, after you've read so many, you start to see a pattern, is that even the talismans, even I've seen it in works of mahabba, right? The love workings.
Yeah, Wadud.
Yeah, Wadud. Exactly. You see it, so then you understand that the power of love, and all love comes from the creator, that by using the word Ya Wadud is how you're able to create love between people, and that makes the spell even more powerful. So we are to review our approach to magic instead of focusing about this author or that book or this manuscript or that sheikh, to go back to the source of where they're drawing their power, which is the Quran and the divine names.
Al-Buni, he praised Allah. He was praising Allah in the books of Arab. Why is he praising Allah? I don't see him praising jinns back over and over. He's not praising this king jinn or that king jinn. Why? Because it is only Allah. That's why. It's hard for people to comprehend that. People look at Islam as only a religion, which it is, but it's deeper. Yet people don't want to spend the time because it's boring. It's not mysterious. It's easily available. So hey, you know, it's you know, even me, I'll say in the beginning, it was more fun, you know, more interesting writing than reciting these names of jinns, these words. You don't know what they mean. It's just more exciting. Let's see if we have a dream. Let's see if we feel something. You don't know what you're reciting. What makes you think it's going to work? Because someone recited it and decided it works for them? No, it doesn't work that way. I just think we need to go to the source of the power, which is Allah. And even if you're not Muslim, but you respect it's respect. Like, look, I have known people who are non-Muslims who read things from the Quran and experienced things that even confuse them. And they kind of question their own beliefs. They didn't leave their beliefs because, that's what they're raised in. But they say, hey, well, this is something that exists, and the power was proven to me. There's people that religion is the complete opposite of Islam. Yet when they read the name of Allah, they read that ayah for a couple of days, a couple of weeks, and they experience something, they start to say, hey, 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 why did I experience something reciting something that is completely opposite of my faith? It's because there's power in it. Yet we don't want to accept or even understand that power because it's, like I said, it's not mysterious. It's easily available. It's the Quran. It's normal. It's not normal. It's amazing, and you have to get deep into it. But you have to understand when you get deep into it, you want to do it with a teacher because you don't want to. Remember, it is a book of religion. It is a book of guidance. So while you might want to get deeper into it for a mystical reason, you want to do it with the proper guidance, or you can get lost very easily, especially if you don't understand Arabic. And at the same time, you don't want to misinterpret the words and make it into something else. So it needs to be done carefully. This is not a book like something out of you can just go and test and see what happens. You still have to have the respect with the Quran. So it's better to do it with someone who speaks Arabic, has knowledge of the Quran, to get that deeper mystical knowledge of it, which you can utilize to help yourself and others. But my point is, we should also focus. We want to talk about Arabic magic. Focus on the key elements involved in so many of these rituals, these qasams, these diagrams. It's Allah's name, ayats. We should focus on this too.
Thank you for clarifying on the subject of text, brother. I really appreciate it. So we move on to our next question, which is about magical, let's call them products. You have ta'weez, you have talsam. How can one classify and differentiate between a talsam and a ta'weez?
My opinion about ta'weez would be affiliated with the Quran, a name of Allah or ayat in it. Okay. A talisman would be a construction, a diagram, maybe a magical square that has huruf in it. It could have mentioning of ayat of the Quran, but other like numbers in it. To me, that's a talisman. An amulet, to me, is just a solid form of either a ta'weez or a talisman. Something engraved on a rock. I would consider that an amulet. What I say, there's a difference between them. It depends on the person creating it, who's making it. It's like a minivan, a sports car, and a sedan. They're all cars. There's different models of it. Would I say one is more effective than the other? Once again, it depends on who's creating it, the method he's using in creating it. So they are similar in a way, but they're also different. I say they're more different in image. They're more different in image because an amulet can have the same exact verses as a ta'weez. You can write a ta'weez with the name Ya Wadud, yet you can also have a ring with the same name engraved on it. Does that make that ring a ta'weez ring? No. I just think these are different forms.
You really pointed at the exact explanation is that it's about the person. It's mostly also about the intention. So when you're writing, sometimes a ta'weez could look exactly the same as a talsam, but the intention is different. And I love the metaphor that you use about the car, a minivan or a sports car. They're all cars, but they could get you to the destination at different speed, different levels of comfort.
And they look different. That's it.
Exactly. So thank you for elaborating on that. So in relation to talsams, a lot of people, they're really interested in talismans. What are the most important astrological significators? When I'm talking about the astrological significators, some people, they focus on the moon phase, that it has to be waxing or waning. Some people focus on the moon mansions more. Some people work by the day and some people work by the hour. Some people look at the ascendant.
Do I feel this is important? Yes, I do. Okay, like for instance, my teacher looks at the moon, at Venus, at Scorpion. I make the same talisman that he does, and I don't care. He'll make a specific talisman on a specific day. He'll wait that specific one time a year to make it. I'll just make it. Are the effects similar? In a way, they really are. When it comes to constructing talismans that are affiliated solely with the Quran and names of Allah, I think you can make them anytime you want. That's my opinion. Okay. Now, if you're making talismans affiliated with specific symbols, like the symbols in the tricks, I think it would be better to follow specific moon phases. The one I follow moon phases more, if it came to it, and timings of the day, hours. But as far as what's Jupiter doing or what's Mars doing, no, I don't really follow those. But my teacher does. But I personally, no, I don't follow those. I'm more into timings of the day. Like there's like a specific talisman I'll make for charisma and authority. I'll make it on Fridays. A specific talisman I'll make to help people with relationships. I'll make it before Fajr, and then I'll do the I'll put it in a bakur smoke as the sun is rising. Now I'm sure those hours may have astronomical names, which I don't know about, but my focus is oftentimes on the specific hour and day more so than, like what Jupiter is doing or Mars is doing. I'm not saying they're not important. They are important, especially I think if you're conjuring specific entities that are affiliated with those planets. Then I do feel it's important. I also feel if you're experimenting with alchemy, I feel it's important. But for constructions of talismans or taweez of names of Allah and the Quran, no. I don't believe time or date plays a role. Because this is my job. People pay me for this. Why would I change my ways if nobody has complained? Alhamdulillah. I try to keep things very basic. I'm not going to say it disregarded completely. It plays a role, but does it play a very important role in the work that I personally do? No, it doesn't. It might play a role in something someone else does that's using specific symbols of power, specific spiritual seals. Yeah, then it might play an important factor. But my dealing is mostly with the Quran and names of Allah. I do make talismans and such, ilmu huruf I do, but like I said, my focus is on days, hours, and incense. That's my focus with constructing a talisman. Doing work for multiple people, what are you going to do? Wait for a specific day to make talismans for 20 people? It's not going to happen. There's not enough time in the day, in that one day. I'm not going to make my work more complicated just to say I do things a specific way. I do things the way that are easy for me and the way that people see results in. People don't see results, I'll look for other ways. Don't make magic complicated, people. It's not supposed to be this complicated. There's so many factors that we want to involve in our practices. And I'm not saying it don't play an important role, but don't make it like absolutely necessary. You're just going to go ahead and stress yourself out. You're going to create that negative energy. And that negative energy that you have created will ruin your work, even if you're doing it at that perfect astronomical time. You got the perfect incense. Because at the end of the day, you know what matters? Your energy when you're constructing that talisman, writing that the weeds, doing that ritual. It's your energy. And if your energy is stressed because you didn't do it at that 1 minute, you don't have the right incense, you're only going to go ahead and fail. So all that work and all that effort you put in would all went down the drain just because you were in a negative state of mind. If a person has an opportunity to sit with a real practitioner, someone that can prove to you they are real and they see their method of work, I assure you, it will be not as complicated as the books make it out to be. I assure you. These books, they make things complicated. I'm not disagreeing they're wrong. But I think they complicate things, and they shouldn't be this complicated. It's difficult to contact specific entities. It becomes even more difficult when you're trying to do that exact minute, get that exact incense. And like I said, I'll say this over and over. They do play an important factor, but the most important factor is your energy going into that ritual, how you are feeling, your mind frame. And if you're stressed and you're negative and everything else is good, you're going to fail. You're going to fail. I failed for 5 years because of my negative mind frame. Everything was right on the time, on the dot. That's why I gave up on the whole astronomy thing. Remember, I did learn from my teacher. So I did learn his ways. You're so stressed, I have to do it at this exact minute and nothing is happening. And then I go back to do it whenever I want. I start seeing results. You realize, okay, well, those things may play a factor. It's not a very, very important factor. Practitioners do this to make their work seem like it's really complicated so nobody else can do it. Hey, you can't do this because look at what's involved, in hopes that they only come to them so they keep making that money. Hey, man, it's not that difficult. You need the knowledge and Rohaniya, the internal Rohaniya to do it. They make it overcomplicated so people think only they can do it. Knowledge is important, but when it gets to the point it needs to be done at this exact time and this exact instance needs to be used, I don't believe it's that important. Like the story of red mercury. I've heard so many stories about this red mercury where a sheikh will say, well, I can't do it until you give me this red mercury, which does it even exist? It's something that a lot of people say is created by these false practitioners in hopes you find something that's not going to be there. And just to make it seem like once you get the red mercury, only he knows how to work with it. Nobody else, only he has the knowledge. I think this is something they put in a lot of different categories to make it look like their work is so hard and so complicated. And I'm not saying the average person can go ahead and construct a talisman and get benefits from it. I'm not saying the average person can go do a ritual. You have to have the training. You have to have the Rohaniya. But once you get to that spiritual level where you can make talismans, where you can contact entities, once you get to that spiritual level, I don't think the exact time plays important no more. The needing of the instance plays important no more. I'm not saying that anybody can go do what we do. Absolutely not. Try it. You're going to fail. Go ahead, try it. I don't care. You can try it. But once you get to that spiritual level and that level of knowledge where you know how things work, I think you can start taking it easy and not have to worry about the exact time and the exact incense and, this color, writing the threes on this color cloth or making the amulet with brass instead of silver. I think it's irrelevant.
Are you enjoying this interview? Do you want to hear the next one first and gain access to other exclusive content? You can do that and more through Patreon. You'll find the link in the description down below. Now, back to the show.
Now we're basically trying to impart on people the Arabic and Islamic point of view on magic and the spirits. So you see people online, like they're working with Shayateen, they're working with demons, right? They're going with goetic spirits. But when you mention jinns, they're like, oh no, I don't want to work with jinns. Jinns are dangerous. But are demons jinns?
So what's a demon? A fallen angel. I'm sorry, I don't believe in fallen angels. I don't believe an angel will go against the will of God and then they'll come into earth to become a demon. No. A demon and jinn is the same thing. I mean, if we're going to talk about this, I'm not going to try to please a specific individual. I'm going to be honest with you, and I'm giving you my honest opinion. You don't have to, undertake it, but this is my opinion. Demon and jinns, it's all the same thing. There's no difference. What I will call a demon is a jinn that's bad. I will say that's a demon. Like a bad human. A demon and jinn is the same exact thing. If a jinn is bad, you go ahead, call it a demon. But I would not classify demons and jinns separately. Now, there's different, like afraid, marid, ghoul. Yeah, there's different types. But they still fall under that one category. Like, let's see. There's a man from Pakistan, a man from China, a man from Africa. They look different. Does that mean they're not all humans? No, they're still all humans. They might have a different image, different way of doing things, different culture, eat different foods, but they're still all humans. They're still the same. I don't believe in the fallen angels. I don't believe that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala kicked angels or angels left with Iblis. I don't believe in that. Allah created the angels to worship him. They don't have the free will we do. Iblis did. Iblis had that free will because Iblis was a jinn. Didn't Iblis say in the Quran, you made me from fire? I mean, a lot of people want to use the Quran to say jinns are made from smokeless fire. It's not in the Bible, but the non-Muslim will say jinns are made from smokeless fire because it's in the Quran, but they won't believe in other things that are mentioned in the Quran. So you're picking and choosing. A demon is a fallen angel, yet the Quran says Allah made angels to only worship him. You don't want to believe that. But you do want to believe the concept that jinns are created from fire because that's in the Quran. So why are you believing this one and not the other one? Because the other one sounds cool, you know, they're made from fire, it sounds cool, it's easy to believe, it doesn't impact my faith or my religion. No, it doesn't work that way. Why do you pick and choose? I mean, there's specific books that even said that Iblis he lived among the jinns, but he was very, very holy. He was very religious. So Allah took him up to the heavens. And then when Allah gave the angel the commands to go kill the jinns, Iblis wanted to accompany them, accompany the angels. So I mean, even according to that book, he was a jinn. He lived among them, but he was more of a righteous one. So therefore, Allah invited him to heaven to stay with the angels. I don't know how accurate it is, but there's various books that state that Iblis was a jinn. And I mean, forget the other books. In the Quran, it says he said it himself. I'm made from fire. That's that.
Thank you for elaborating on that. I really appreciate it. And this brings us to the next question. So now we're getting deeper in the topic of jinns, which I know a lot of people are confused by. And it's nice to hear from a professional practitioner. From your research and also extensive personal experience, what are the main types of jinns? We spoke earlier about Sifli, about Shayateen. We talked about Olwi. So how can one differentiate between them?
It's just knowledge. And there's various people that say if the jinn comes in, have him recite Ayatul Kursi. If it's a Shayateen, he will not be able to recite it. But I spoke to my teacher about this. He said they will even recite it for you in front of you. I mean, a jinn can walk in the room and say he's a Muslim. Is there a for sure way for us to say he's not Muslim? No, there isn't. And this is why a lot of scholars are against you so talking to jinn. Now, look, it's not haram. The issue is when that jinn comes, when that contact is made, you will not know if it's lying to you. You just, I mean, if a person walks into your house you never seen before, says Assalamu alaikum, I mean, does that mean they're a Muslim? A good Muslim? Same with jinns, you don't know. Therefore, this is based specifically on knowledge, the method you use to contact the entity. I feel if you're using Qasams and different words, there's a higher chance you can call it something not as pious. But then again, do take into consideration, majority of the jinns that do come and visit and talk to you are not pious jinns. A lot of people don't accept this fact. People say, I have a Muslim jinn. No, I'm sorry, you don't, man. Because if you had a believing Muslim jinn, he wouldn't be talking to you right now. No ifs, ands, or buts. I'm gonna be honest with you guys. If someone's gonna say to me, I got an Imam jinn, he's a Muslim jinn, he's a very practicing Muslim, then he wouldn't be talking to you. He wouldn't be. If he was that pious, he would not talk to you. You ever have the Sahaba talking to the jinns? Any of the Tabi'een talking to the jinns? No, they didn't. If you think you're going to contact the jinn, it's going to be a alhamdulillah, imam, a sheikh, no, you're wrong. Most likely the jinn you're talking to is no better than a human, can do bad and do good. And you know what? Majority of the cases, I feel like they'll be more on the negative scale. They're more of a desire to cause you harm or to stray you away. So the question you're asking me is, I feel majority of the jinns you contact are not going to be pious. If they are Muslim, they're going to be like a, this is my opinion now. My opinion, my experience. They're not going to be that Imam believing Muslim. People think, you're going to get some super pious. No, kind of like a human, but I think they'll be more extreme. I think majority of jinns, a person will come in contact with, will be more bad than good. For me to say, no, a really pious Muslim jinn would never talk to you, no. I can't say that. It's possible they can. But what are the chances of it? It's very slim. Majority of the jinns that you will talk to, claiming to be Muslim, will be like, 50-50. Majority of jinns that come through will be more darker jinns. And the jinns that will do the most for you, hands down, is the Shayateen, because they don't give a damn. Just from people who have jinns, that's the truth. So if somebody tells you, oh, you got a Muslim jinn, go get a Khadim. If you have a jinn, a real jinn, not talking about someone who has a Qasam or someone that thinks they have a jinn. If you have a jinn that you can talk to and see, you can make that jinn steal money from someone and bring it to you. That's not anything that's like difficult for a jinn. And now if you are one of the very few lucky ones who had
A Muslim jinn, of course, will not give you a very pious Muslim, but a Muslim jinn, he will not do that for you. Only a shayateen will do that for you. So if anybody who has a jinn, has a confirmed jinn, who can do amazing things in front of the public, it's a shayateen jinn. No believing Muslim jinn will do that. Make money, steal money, even if they put it back. No. Only a shayateen who doesn't care will do that. And if a person ends up getting a Muslim jinn, and like I said, when you get a Muslim jinn, it's not going to be an imam or a Muslim jinn, a believing jinn. He will not do the whole money appearing, do things appear in front of people's eyes. It won't do it.
Thank you. And I appreciate the clarity on that subject. And this brings us to our next question that we're talking about jinns, creeds, religions. The famous seven terrestrial jinn kings of the days. We all know them. They're all over the place. Some claim that they're Muslim, especially by their names. Al-Ahmar Abu Yaqub, Abu Walid.
Who gave them these names? Who gave them these names? Somebody named Ahmed, Ibn Ahmed. That's all we know. No? So, Ibn Mustafa. Who gave them these names? Who said they were Muslim? Are they not Muslim? I'm not saying that. But who said they are? Tell me. If a person came into your house right now, Rida, who you never seen said Assalamu alaikum to you, is there a positive way you know he's Muslim? Let's say he knows the Quran, he knows the Hadith. Does this mean he's Muslim? This can just simply mean he studied the religion of Islam. And there's people who studied Islam and left Islam, and they're a different religion now, yet they still have all the knowledge of Islam. The only way you would know if it's truly a Muslim is working with it directly for a period of time. If you think by having a jinn come in front of you and you will know right away it's Muslim or not, you're wrong. And that only goes to show you your lack of knowledge when it comes to jinn. If somebody says to you, a jinn will come in front of me, no, you're a liar. Because then you should be able to tell me who's a good Muslim or not by looking at an average person. You can't. So how can you tell me this jinn is a good Muslim, but you can't tell me about that human? The only way you will know is by directly working with them. And you see how they respond to your commands. That's the only way. When you give them those commands, or if a contract is being made, you see what they ask for. If a command is being given, you see what they say, how they respond to it. Not the first time or second time or third time, because they might sound really religious in the beginning. Just to, for you to get that hope, yeah, he's a good jinn. And I asked him to do something, and he said no, so 100% he's good. No. You need to work with that entity for months, if not at least a year. If maybe even longer, to truly know its intentions. And if it's a Muslim, and if you are a weak person, spiritually, Rohaniyat wise, and religious wise, you will surely be strayed. Therefore, my advice to people is, I don't know what the majority of the people, they want to contact jinn for like a gain. I just think it's better to increase your Rohaniyat first. And so there are a lot of non-Muslims too that want to contact with the jinn. I just think they need to be very careful when doing it. They need to have someone to guide them, someone who's worked with that entity or worked with jinn before, because it's really difficult to figure their true nature out. They're so deceiving, man. Like they're so good at what they do, and the way they do it, it's amazing. Subhanallah, it's amazing how they can deceive you with your own religion. They can tell you, hey, you know what? I want you to go in wudu and recite the name Ya Rahman 100,000 times, and you have to finish it in 40 days. No, do it 100,000 times a day. And you have to do it every single day for 5 days. And the person does it, and he misses Fajr. He misses Asr. You start, and you delay it. You delay it. They find ways to push you up the right path, but they do it so slowly, you don't realize it. They do it in such a manner that you don't realize that you are messing up. Because they do it in such minuscule little steps. They do it in ways where in the beginning it's technically not haram. It's technically not wrong, but it's leading you to the wrong. They're very smart. They have all the time in the world. They know they live longer. They know when we come in contact with them, we are so intrigued by them that pretty much whatever they say, we will accept. They know that.
And to summarize and to come back to our question, which is about the most famous jinn kings, we're projecting our own faith. We want them to be Muslims, or we want them to be converts, or we want them to be this.
And they might be. But there's no way to know for sure. They're not alive anymore. Others have taken their place. People say, "Oh, I talked to some Huruf last night." Did you really, man? Because I remember he died. He died a long time ago. I talked to Zoba last week. Oh, really? You think they live forever? You know, when jinns died, others take their place. Maybe the original one was Muslim. Maybe. But how do we know the one that took its place wasn't Muslim? The ones that the people thinking, oh, some people say Shamruz was the companion of the Prophet. Okay, let's say even if he was, do you think he's still alive? I mean, I know they live long, but seriously? He's still alive? If you have a kid, of course you want him to be Muslim, but is he guaranteed he's going to be Muslim? No. So a lot of these jinns have died. They're not alive. And whoever took their place, how are we sure they're Muslim? Only because they have the same name? People don't know they died. They think it's still alive from them.
Now, we're talking about the nature of the jinns, and of course, I started a discussion about this in the group because a lot of people, as you said yourself, they're focused on the names and this king and that king. You know, Maymun, I counted 15 kings named Maymun, right? They're the tribe of Mayamin. So people, they think there's only one Maymun, but Abanukh is the king of the Mayamin. Some people say Barqan died, he got replaced by another guy named Barqan. But the bottom line is the king dies, but there's still a throne, the office is still there, and another one takes his place. And when you call Barqan, one jinn responds.
That's it. Yeah, but like maybe the first ones of them were Muslim. Alhamdulillah. But does that mean that every single Burqan after is true? We don't know.
Thank you for touching on that subject.
And the people who end up getting in contact with the Maymun, one of those, the last thing they're going to be worried about if they're Muslim or not. Whoever can contact those jinns, they're doing it for a specific purpose, and it's not religion. That's why you don't contact jinns for the purpose of religion or deed. No.
There's an argument for separating religion and magic. We're dealing with jinns to achieve a certain tangible effect, and the result, we live in Western countries, right? We could be working with people who are not the same faith, and we can have great partnerships, great collaborations with them, and do constructive things within the world without worrying about, is this person Muslim? I mean, that would be limiting in so many ways. And this brings us on to the next subject, because people are starting to realize, especially in Western countries, that they have a Qareen. And a lot of people contact me, and I'm sure you get requests like that. They want to get in touch with their Qareen. Oh, I want to build a relationship with my Qareen. Is it advisable? No. What can you tell us about the Jinni companion that we have with us, which we refer to in Arabic and in Islam as the Qareen, which basically means double. It is your Jinni double.
So I'm going to give you my opinion on it. And if someone tells me I'm wrong, if you haven't contacted your Qareen and worked with it, don't tell me I'm wrong. Okay? I don't care what book you read. I don't care what Sheikh told you. If you have not worked with your Qareen one-on-one, you haven't done the ritual to get a hold of it, do not tell me I'm wrong. I'm not trying to sound, like overly arrogant, but a lot of people come to me, well, this book said this, and that book said that. First of all, what did our Nabi say about the Qareen? Allah gave us a jinn from the day we were born. That jinn, it makes us do bad. So right there, we know that jinn is of dark nature. Okay? What was the last time someone ever said to himself, hey, today I want to go ahead and conjure a demon just to be a friend with it? Most of the time you want to conjure something that's friendly, right? You want to get in contact something that hopefully will help you, better you, benefit you, gain you. People might contact a demon for revenge, but no one wants to contact something dark and negative, really just because you want to spend that time and energy to contact something good. When you are trying to contact your Qareen, you're trying to contact something that is dark. And that Qareen knows every single thing about you. Things that you forgot, it knows about you. It knows everything from the day you were born. It's assigned to you. It knows your past better than you know it. So now you're trying to contact something that knows what scares you, what tempts you, and knows your desires, and knows your darkest secrets, and knows things about you that a jinn wouldn't even know. You want to get in contact with this. Why? This entity can spin you like it can play you like a toy. It knows everything. It knows what breaks you and what hurts you. It knows what makes you. It knows everything about you. So why do you want to contact an entity that knows this much information, and that which we already know is a dark entity, and its purpose is to push you to do bad? Why do you want to contact? If you want to contact something, go contact a jinn. Why your Qareen? So the reason people want to contact the Qareen is because Qareens are better at giving you information on the individual's past than a jinn. I'm not saying a jinn cannot do it, because a jinn can communicate with another person's Qareen, but the Qareen will do it more eloquently. Very few people have captured their Qareen. Most people that have an entity have a jinn, and their jinn will talk to the person's Qareen. Very few people have captured their Qareen, because the capturing the Qareen is a lot more difficult than capturing a jinn. And the Qareen is more aggressive when it comes to contacting it, getting a hold of it, than a jinn is. So a lot of people who give you information about your past are doing it via their jinn. When they have a Qareen, they can give you details about your past that you done forgot. A Qareen can just go further than a jinn. So, but anyway, the reason people want a Qareen is because, to get information on other, they really can't break black magic. They're not stronger than a jinn. They're good for information, good to learn about others. Some people say they can also assist with illnesses. I find that hard to believe, but I do not feel there's any benefit whatsoever, even at the least bit, to contact your Qareen. Once you have contact with your Qareen, the job it was assigned to do by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it will do it even more. It will push you to do bad. Now that you have that connection, you have that connection with that Qareen that you didn't have before. And that Qareen has a connection with you that I already had, but now it's just so much more stronger. If you really want to conjure something, get a jinn, because a jinn can do more for you than a Qareen is limited to what it can do. It's really not that much. So like I said, I don't understand the point of spending the time and energy and all the risk you go through to contact your Qareen and capture it, because when you do get it, anybody that has a jinn can do far more than you.
Coming from someone who has been there and done this, I think there's a very, very important lesson for everyone that's listening there. Now, going on to the next question, talking about conjuring jinns or Khodams. And also you mentioned before that you work with the Quran, and of course that there are different methods. And also in Arabic magic, you see a lot of sometimes very long conjuration, sometimes very short conjuration, sometimes it's just gibberish. In your experience, having tried different methods, what are some of the most effective methods to contact jinns or Khodams?
The most effective way is the Qasams. Hands down. Fastest, most effective is the Qasam, because you are reaching out directly to the jinn, you specifically. Now, with the Quran, this is a issue of dispute, and it's going to become a very long subject. But when you do it to the Quran, you're pretty much asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give you a jinn. Or some people say you are contacting the Khadim of that surah, the Rohani jinn of that surah. And being such a case, it's a very difficult procedure. To get an entity in your command, or to get an entity to come forward by using simply the Quran, your Rohani level has to be of extreme. Your pious level has to be immense. And I feel that individuals who contact the entity via Quran didn't didn't read the Quran to contact the entity came to them. So I think the individuals who read the Surah Jinn 41 times for 41 days, and they ended up becoming successful, it was after a number of years of tries. And I think there's very few people in this world that have done it that way and found success in it. And the other individuals who did, in fact, have something come forward or recite the Quran, it came forward not to that. Like, if I read the Quran for ibadah, and I read it every single day for the sake of Allah, and the jinn comes forward, it came because it wanted to, not because I read the surah to call it. This, I think, is extremely rare. For an individual to do in a ritual format, recite Surah Jinn 41 times for 41 days and hope Khadim or something comes forward, I think it's very, I'm not saying it's not possible. It's extremely difficult. Because what you're doing is trying to contact something by reading a book that wasn't designed for it. So a lot of people say if a jinn does come forward, it's because it liked your recital. If it listened to you recite the Quran and it ended up growing an affection towards you, so it came forward. There's so many opinions about contacting an entity via the Quran, but the most effective way is to do it with qasams. This is the most effective, the quickest, safest way of the Quran, but that's the longest and hardest way as well. A lot of people will say you shouldn't do it the Quran because now you're using the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to contact a entity that you will not then ask help for. You see, when you use the Quran to heal someone, you're still asking Allah to heal that individual with the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When you want to get an entity with the Quran, you're saying, Allah, give me this jinn who now I will ask the jinn for help. So to answer your question in a nutshell, I would say the most effective way is the qasams.
Are you interested in Arabic magic? Do you want to learn how to properly work with jinns? Are you looking to take your spiritual practice to the next level? Reach out to me through my Facebook business page. The link's in the description down below. Now, back to the show.
All right, and just to clarify for our listeners, the qasams are the conjurations. And this brings up a very important question. Many times we see these names that don't have any meaning in Arabic. Sometimes they're gibberish. They do rhyme though. A lot of times they end with the letter sheen. And you being someone who is very experienced in that realm, I would like to have your opinion on the use of those names from your own research, from your own experience. Is there a tendency for them to lead people astray? What is their efficacy? Many sheikhs, they will say, oh, these are Suryani names, these are Syriac names, these are divine names. I would like to have your opinion on that and people using those names without knowing their meaning. What do they mean? And what is their use? And is there a case for using them or not using them?
Well, I mean, to mix these words with like Bismillah, ayat of the Quran, I'm against. Firstly, you shouldn't do that because you know what they mean. Whenever you're saying Bismillah, the next word is something offensive. So unless you know the meaning of the word. Now, I do think the words have a meaning. I don't think they're gibberish. I think they might be the people like what the people say is even my teacher, the Suryani words, and they are names of actual entities, actual spiritual beings. I don't think they're just gonna put a bunch of gibberish words there just to make it rhyme or make a poem. No, I think these words do have a meaning, and what they mean, no one knows. Let me ask you a question: if you go ahead and you recite a qasam for 30 days, and something comes forward, now when that entity comes forward, are you really gonna ask that entity what that word means? No, absolutely not. You're gonna be so excited that you're gonna, whatever you called it for, what can you do for blah blah blah. So technically, no one knows what these words mean. No one knows. They can give you their assumption. They could try to relate it back to another word, but to say 100% this is what the word means, there's no way to say. Someone that has a Khodam, a Jinn, he asks his personal Khodam, who speaks on a daily basis, what these words mean. And it told him these words are older than him. You're using something of another world that we know a little bit about. It's an unknown world. We're focusing on the meaning of these words, which I do too. I spend years learning about these symbols, figuring out what these words mean, and all there are assumptions. But I do believe they have a meaning. And in my expertise, I think they are words affiliated or somehow related to spiritual beings. Now, some people had said that they're names of Allah, Shayateen. Maybe.
Another example that comes to mind is the famous Barhatiya.
Yeah.
Everyone, when they get into Arabic magic, they fall on the Barhatiya. They want to practice with the Barhatiya. And we've talked about this privately, is that the Barhatiya names, a lot of people, they think they're divine names. And what you're saying basically is that we don't know for sure, but to assume they're divine names would be wrong.
Yeah. According to the majority of people I spoke to, they said they were divine names. Some have said they're names of jinns and Khadams. But then again, no one knows. And then as far as the Barhatiya goes, some people, they say this is not even the original Barhatiya. Their name is missing from it. And then people have said that there are specific names of power that actually are needed to get the full force of Barhatiya. They're missing from it. Some people say there's 7 names missing from it. So, I mean, we're talking about a Qasam that has so many theories about how it originated, about if it's accurate, about if words are missing, and then trying to figure out what the words mean. You're just going to confuse yourself. But some people have found it very effective. When I spoke to my teacher about it, he said the few people that he knows that mastered the Barhatiya stated there were specific names that were missing. Until they got those names, they weren't able to master it. And those names are usually handed down. And this is what I heard from most, being the most accurate. Barhatiya, I'm not saying it's not effective on its own. It is effective, but there are specific parts that are missing. And I truly believe this. As far as what the words mean, I once again think they are they divine names? Syriani? Maybe. I don't know. No one's going to give you a 100% correct answer on this. And if they say this is the right, they're wrong. Because how can you prove it? So some people might be disappointed to hear what I'm saying, but there's no way. These are words that are not in any vocabulary. So how can I say this is what it truly means? We know there's somewhat they have power.
Many people will attribute the Barhatiya either to King Solomon, peace be upon him, either to Asif ibn Barkhiya, his court vizier.
Let me ask you this. In the Quran, it states the Prophet Solomon, he got his powers from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? So why would he resent the Barhatiya? He wasn't a sorcerer. He wasn't a magician. He did dua to Allah, give me a kingdom that no one has, like me or after me, and Allah gave him the power. Why would he say, though, you had the best kingdom in the world. He had everything he wanted. You think and let me go recite the Barhatiya. Why? He could command the jinns because of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, not because of the Barhatiya. Because if it was that simple, we all be controlling jinns. Prophet Solomon got his power from Allah. He wasn't a magician. He wasn't a sorcerer. He wasn't a practitioner. He wasn't an amal. He was a prophet. And one of the powers, one of the blessings Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave him was to have control over jinns and to talk to animals and to have this great kingdom. Musa alayhi Islam had the staff. Some people say the staff had magical markings on it. Maybe it did, but the staff worked because Allah wanted it to work, not because the markings on it. A lot of prophets had like specific attributes, powerful abilities. It's because they were prophets. Allah gave it to them, not because they were sorcerers or magicians. So do I say it's a Barhatiya from the time of King Solomon? Absolutely not. Why do we have to falsify things and relate them to individuals to make them seem, more amazing? Why? Why can we say the powers of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? I mean, everyone wants to know what Barhatiya. It's amazing. It is amazing in a way. People have found a lot of benefit from it. People have contacted other beings, felt things. But we find this amazing because this is the only thing like itself that we know about. When there's far, far more out there, and these so-called practitioners that know so much about jinns, tell me, name one for me. You won't, and then I'll name one. A lot of time people are trying to relate these customs to a hadith. A hadith that has no chain or narration. It's just something that written again by a man we don't know about. So don't believe in this stuff. You know, don't. If you want to believe in the Bharatiya, believe in it. That's fine. You want to recite it, that's fine. You find benefit in it, that's fine. But don't try to relate it to something religious, because it's not religious. Even if it says Bismillah, it's not religious. Yeah, I find a lot of people trying to relate these customs to something religious. That should not be done. You know, like you said earlier, religion and magic needs to be separated at some time. This is one of those times.
When we talked about the verses, you said it depends on your ruhaniyat. When we talked about the jinns, it depends on your ruhaniyat. So first of all, to the non-Arabic speakers, right? To the people who have no idea what ruhaniyat means, what is ruhaniyat? And then second of all, how can one go about increasing their ruhaniyat?
Rohaniya, in a nutshell, means spiritual power. And when I say spiritual power, I'm not talking about psychic power, where, you know, like you move stuff. Spiritual power, the spiritual power that resides inside you. Rohaniya is the fuel for whatever you do. It's like, you know, you can have a car, but if you have no gas, that car is useless. You can know how to build a talisman because you read a book, or because your teacher told you, or because you got that Ijaza, right? But if you are not at that spiritual level, you will not get the proper effect of the talisman. And that spiritual level can be raised depending on so many things. In Islam, you know, we do it through various forms of worship, reciting specific zikrs, or reciting specific chants, you know, praying. And I have found this to be the most effective, not only me, but also my non-Muslim students, my Hindu students, my Christian students, students from Judaism, found that the Rohaniya increase happened the most when they were reading specific verses of the Quran, reciting specific names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and in consistency, in a kind of a ritual format, you know, like when I say ritual format, like just sitting down, lighting that incense. I don't think it's necessary, but you know, once if your mind is there, you get better results, you connect better to it. So my method of increasing Rohaniya is through worship. What are other ways? Some people do it through meditation. You know, I'm not gonna say you only way to increase your Rohaniya by being a Muslim. Absolutely not. I've met Christian practitioners, they'll make some of the Muslim practitioners look so weak. So Rohaniya is not singled out to a religion. There's a various methods of doing it, and the method I've done it because I'm Muslim is through Islamic religious texts. And it's important because your Ruhaniyat is what empowers your work. The more Ruhaniyat you have, the better chance you have in your rituals, in your talisman construction, in your spiritual work. It makes it work faster. It makes it more effective. If you lack Ruhaniyat, you can, you know, make a talisman over and over and you get no benefit from it. So Rohaniya is the fuel of your spiritual work.
That is very eloquently put. And I thank you for that answer. And also, I mean, people have to understand how much of a difference it makes. As you said, it makes your workings more powerful, it makes the jinns respect you.
Absolutely.
It makes them listen to you. Like some people, as you said yourself, they will recite a verse 3 times, and other people will recite it 3,000 times and nothing will happen.
We're the superior creation, right? So why are we choosing them? How about they come and assist us without us even asking them? How about, you know, I don't have to conjure, I don't have to light an incense, I don't care about Venus or whatever. How about they come and assist us due to our extremely high spiritual power? Wouldn't that be more amazing?
Definitely, it would be more amazing. And going back to the example you said before, people reading Surah Al-Jinn, you know, and they think they're going to read Surah Al-Jinn, it's like you're going to put a key in a lock, right? You're going to do it for a certain amount of times, and then something is going to happen, but not necessarily. And as you said yourself, it's very, very difficult. It's actually very rare. The difference is Rohaniya, and also that makes the case of focusing on ourselves. As you said yourself, before seeking help from the jinns, people want shortcuts. They just want a jinn to come and fulfill everything, but the jinn won't listen to you. He won't respect you. He won't do what you ask if you don't have the ruhaniya.
You know, a jinn, when it comes in front of you, it knows about you. It knows your Rohaniya level. It knows what you're capable of. It knows. You think it's gonna come in front of you, not knowing anything about you, it knows about you. It knows, the time and dedication, and this only makes it respect you more. The higher your Rohaniya level, the more of a chance you have of attracting something more on the positive side. If your Rohaniya is increased through dark occult means, black arts, which it can be, then you'll attract darker entities. If your Rohaniya is increased more through worship and prayers, you're more likely to increase more positive entities.
The most important thing is that you said your work will be more powerful. Is when I make a talisman and I put the pen to the paper, my energy is being imprinted on that talisman, not the jinns, right? So first and foremost, you are the most important ingredient, spirit, actor of magic in the whole ritual. So before seeking outside assistance, I think there's a case that I've been telling everyone that we should focus on ourselves. And now I'm glad that our brother Ali here is agreeing with me on this point. This is not something to be overlooked, definitely not.
Rohaniya is number one. Without Rohaniya, you're bound to fail. And your Rohaniya can get to such a high level, you don't need to depend on any other beings. You think this happened, these fall in place. Your connection with God has become so strong that things just fall in place. And to make it not religious, just having that Rohaniya power makes everything you do magically more powerful. The focus should be not on trying to contact the entity or trying to construct something. The focus should be for people who want to learn the ilm to work on yourself first. The stronger you get, the stronger your work will be.
I hope people will heed this advice, and I really, really thank you for it. This brings us on to our next question. And this is a question from one of my patrons who wanted to know about this specific practice, which is called Pathworkings, which are kind of guided meditations. You're just going to put something in your ears, listen to a video, there are some sounds in the background, and people are using it to contact demons. People are using it to contact angels. Is this something that can be done with jinns? Can jinns be contacted through the realm of the mind alone?
Yes, they can. Look, just that desire to contact a jinn increases your chance of having contact with a jinn. Just your desire, just your intent. There's jinns all around us. They live among us. Just having that desire of contacting the other side increases your chances of that contact. So when you put something in your ear, listen to guidance, like you guidance network, yeah, absolutely. Is it the proper way of doing it? No, because there's no protection involved. There's no protection involved. It's it's like using a pendulum. I don't think you should contact entities that way or using a Ouija board. But yeah, these are other forms of contact. Contacting the other side is not only via rituals, sitting down and lighting candles. No, there's various ways to do it. There's nobody that said the only way to contact the entity is just by doing rituals. There's various ways. Pendulum, Ouija boards, guided pathwork. Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you for that answer. And the next question here is something that is, I think, a topic of hot debate. You see people are really, as I said before, scared of the jinns, right? They don't want anything to do with the jinns. They call them the fire spirits. They're unpredictable. They're dangerous. And some people, when we talked about the Qareens, they want to be friends with the jinns, right? Friends with Shayateen, friends with Qareen. In your experience, having dealt with so many different kinds of jinns and spirits, what is your best approach and the relationship one should strive for when trying to work with a jinn? Should we be hostile? Should we be cautious? Should we be friendly?
If you are one of the very few people to make direct contact, I'm not talking about you felt something or you heard of, I'm talking about where you see this entity, direct contact, right? Face to face, not in your mind or in your third eye. And people say, oh, I see the jinn. I'm like, no, I'm talking about face to face on our plane. Caution, absolutely. Hostile, no. Because you called it. Why are you gonna be hostile? Imagine I invite you to my house and I'm hostile towards you. You're gonna be like, why did you even call me? Be cautious. And then, like I said before, you also have an idea of the nature of that jinn based on the method you contacted it. So I don't know what method person might have used to contact, but in general, be cautious, do your due diligence, and ask questions. Do not ask questions in a sense where you are now in charge Don't be that person when you feel like, okay, I'm the one asking the questions. You are not in charge. And even if you don't show it to them and don't think it, they can read our minds. They know. Be humble. I'm sure you're going to be excited that, man, something came forward. And he knows you're excited. You can hold your excitement all you want. He'll know you're excited. But remember these things. It knows what you're thinking. It knows what you're feeling. It knows you're scared. It knows you're excited. And how you approach it with respect. Jinns are notoriously very self-confident.
They're proud. They're really proud.
Yeah. And don't make it seem like he is your superior, but at the same time, don't make it look like you're equal to it. You just respect it. You start showing, oh, you're so great and you're so mighty, he loses respect for you. I respect, you respect it because you called it. Be cautious because you're dealing with something that's non-human from a world we know nothing about. You're dealing with a being that knows how you're thinking, knows how you're feeling. So take these into consideration. Ask questions, but don't get in depth. Don't ask for like fine details. Quick questions, short questions. And if you're trying to make a contract with it, let it give you the suggestion. Don't say, I contacted you because I want you to be able to help me with people who have black magic, and in return, I will go ahead and read this eye. No. Why? I'll ask you, why did you contact me? You give it the information, and if agreement is made, I'll tell you, well, this is what I agree on. And due to your excitement, you might not carefully understand what the jinn has said, and now you put yourself in a very, very big hole. As sincere and as easy as the request he makes may sound, think about them thoroughly because they are never easy. It might say something simple like, you have to feed the poor every Friday. And you say, okay, but it never told you how many poor people you have to feed. What if it's 1,000? Can you feed 1,000 poor people every Friday? You say to them, okay, well, how many poor people do I feed? What if imagine you don't ask the jinn, and then you tell the jinn, well, I fed one poor person. And the jinn says to you, well, who said it was one? And you say to the jinn, well, you never give me a number. And the jinn says, well, you called me, so I make the rules. There goes your contract. There goes your hard work. If you really piss the jinn off, it's coming after you. So if a contract is being made, listen to what it suggests and think about it. Because the jinn's goal will be to trick you. 100%. To make it difficult. So this is why I say knowledge is needed. I mean, it might say something too simple. Just feed poor people on Friday. Okay, that's a nice gesture. I can do that. Friday comes, you fed one poor person, you feel very righteous, and you gotta feed 1,000 of them. It's not possible. So when that contract is being made, be very careful with the questions. Be cautious. Understand and knows how you're thinking and feeling, and that's really it. Be respectful, but don't overdo it. But do respect it and don't think you're equal to it. Even though you're above it, don't show that.
I mean, as I always like to tell people, the last thing you want to do is insult a king, even if you're a king yourself.
You contacted it. You called him. He didn't call you. Remember that. Not the jinn comes to you. You're one of those very few people, lucky people. The jinn comes to you. You call the shots and you make the rules.
I think that's a very important point that you make about conditions and covenants, which brings us on to my next question. And this is a question from one of the patrons who wants to know, what are the typical jinni conditions and demands that they put on working with us? And what are the differences you've seen from, let's say, Sifli, which are lower, and Shayateen, and Olwi, which are righteous and good jinns?
Sifli will give no commands in the beginning. They'll tell you what they can do for you. Once you see what Sifli can do for you, and once they know that you realize the power, that's when the commands come. In the beginning, Siflis don't care. The more pious jinn will set rules, and the rule, like I said, it depends on the method you use to contact it. You use, various religious methods. Qasam mixed with some Arabic word, like I said, around 3 pounds, but it doesn't matter. They'll ask for things like good nature things. Like I've heard jinns ask individual, don't cheat on your wife. I've heard of jinns asking individual not to swear, which is difficult. So it depends on the jinn. Sometimes when I hear about these requests from jinns, I question, how true is this? And, because some of the requests are odd, and sometimes the requests are very difficult. So it really depends on the method you use to contact the jinn and the reason you contacted the jinn. If you're contacting the jinn for a single purpose, like for a one-time thing, it might have a simpler request of a sacrifice. And if you're contacting a Sifli jinn for the purpose of black magic, and then you're sending it away, it might make you do something wrong, disrespecting something religious. So it's not limited to a specific few conditions. It matters on why you call the jinn, the method you call the jinn, and how long you want to have a connection with the jinn for. Based on those, you can have an idea of what the jinn might ask for. But then again, there's no guarantee. But like I said, with Sifli ones, if you want long-term contract with them, they won't ask for anything upfront. If you're using them for short-term, they might ask you for sacrifice, blood, disrespecting something. Somewhat pious jinn, it might ask for something, reading something, donating something of that nature. And if it's a short-term thing, it might not ask for anything. If the jinn has a good connection with you, it might not ask you for anything. So contracts are usually made for long-term relationships. And majority of the people that contact jinn do it for a single purpose.
I think that people will appreciate those differences that you've made. And this brings us on to our next question. And this is something that you mentioned in passing before, which is physical manifestation. And we talked about the jinns manifesting. And we live in a materialistic world. Everything, it has to be physical. A lot of people place importance on physical manifestations. So I want to ask you, do jinns appear as human beings? Is it necessary for our work's success? How important is physical manifestation?
It depends on the reason you're contacting. If you're contacting a talisman or amulet, which has affiliation with the jinn does not need to appear. If you are contacting a jinn for a long-term contract, and the jinn does not appear, ritual has failed. It should appear in your dream or physically in front of you. But for short-term stuff, making a talisman, amulet, short-term thing, no, they don't need to appear. But for long-term contracts, yes, they should appear. They should make themselves noticed. Ask yourself, you want that physical manifestation, but is your Rohaniya level high enough to see the jinn? You want to see the jinn, but is your spiritual senses that enlightened where you can see it? So it doesn't matter what you want, it matters also what spiritual level you're at. Only because you contact the jinn, it can be standing in front of you. But because you're not at the proper spiritual level, you might not see it. This is why I say work on yourself before you conjure. So you're at the proper spiritual level. So you're not questioning things. Something is there, pretty sure. Hey, I think I see something. Nothing's in the corner of my eye. Hey, I see something right there. A lot of people assume that the jinn will come into our physical world. It might. But even then, you need to have a fairly enhanced spiritual sense to see it. If not, then why can't we see jinns when we go around? A lot of people say, oh, well, the jinn you can see is due to the energy of the ritual. That's not necessarily true. It might play a role in making the jinn come forward, but making the jinn visible. Not necessarily true. To a certain extent, maybe. But you have to be like I said, you have to be at the proper spiritual level.
I hope people are paying close attention to your words here. Proper spiritual level, this is a two-way street. It's about you perceiving them, not just about it showing itself to you.
Yes.
And the point that I like to mention to people all the time is that we are in contact with thousands of spirits every single day, all over the place, but we don't see them. And there's a reason for that. So I thank you for developing on that. Now, you've been giving great advice all throughout the interview. And I would like you to give us some advice to avoid mistakes. What are some of the common mistakes that you see people make when they're trying to study or practice Arabic magic?
Reading a book and doing it. That's the biggest mistake. A lot of times the people are possessed by a spiritual issue. It's not due to black magic. It's because of the thing they did. They read something and tried to do it, and things went bad. That. When people have problem with entities, black magic, it can be due to attraction, and other times it's because of your own mistakes. Get a teacher, some of a guidance, and before you do those rituals in the book, learn the proper methods to protect yourself and your loved ones and your family. Because they can come after everyone, not just you. What if you protect yourself when you have kids in the house? Kids can sense. Imagine you do something and it impacts your kid or, your spouse. So my advice is before you start doing these rituals or whatever it is, work on yourself, get to a decent spiritual level, learn different methods of protection, and find a teacher. And self-enhancement is important. To avoid mistakes completely, no. I mean, even practitioners make mistakes. But I think these things will make it easier when you potentially avoid mistakes.
I want to take the time to thank you, Ali, for the time that you took out of your day. I know that you have, workings to do. I know that you're bound by timing. I know that you have a lot of stuff on your plate, but you still took the time to do this interview because you wanted to speak the truth. This is someone who has been doing this for years and not getting just results for himself, getting results for many, many clients. Now, I understand Ali told me, he said he wasn't doing this to get recognition or to advertise his services or anything like that. But Ali, if you want to tell our viewers, if they're interested in learning from you or maybe just acquiring something from you or just seeking your help with different matters, if they can find you at all on the internet, how would they go about that?
I mean, I joined your amazing group to learn and to talk to people that share similar interests. Of course, if someone needs help, I'll help them. But that is certainly not the reason why I joined the group. So yes, if someone wants to message me, they can, but I don't want to offer any service. Of course, if somebody needs help in that situation, I'll help them or guide them.
So Ali is within the group, Arabic Magic and Theurgy. He's been given advice left and right. And he's saying right now, he's not going to give you an email address, but if you look for him, you can find him and you will surely recognize him just by the amazing advice that he shares within the group.
One thing I want to say before we end this is, people understand that I've never heard of an atheist jinn. Even the Shayateens believe in God, okay? The worst of the worst recognize God. So when I tell you what I'm about to tell you, and someone says, I don't believe in God, but how can you believe in a being that also believes in God? You don't believe in God, but you believe in jinns, makes no sense. But my advice is, there's nothing a jinn can do for you if Allah does not will. Do not think a jinn will make you rich, because if that was the case, I would be a very wealthy man, and I'm not. A jinn cannot change your life. A jinn cannot make you rich. While Allah did give jinns power, we need to first understand how a jinn can assist us, if it can, in which areas. Don't listen to jinns grant wishes and jinns can make you rich. Yeah, jinns can assist us, but we need to learn in what areas how they can assist us. So don't focus on jinn. Your focus should strictly be on, I feel, I'm not trying to sound religious, but it's, making that connection with Allah and working on yourself. And then using that knowledge to enrich your life. And the results you will get are better than the results you get with jinn. When a jinn helps you with something, it's not going to be permanent in most cases. It'll be like a short-term benefit followed by, chronic loss. No, it's not in all cases. But don't get dependent on a jinn solving your issue, or it's not going to happen. I mean, they're amazing, they're great, they can do a lot, but they are certainly not the solution to any problem. They can maybe assist to a certain level, and a lot of times people find out what they can truly do. They're like, oh, that's it. So don't get too strung up about jinn. There's other ways to get, what you desire. And I personally, my way is connecting with God. And what I've acquired spiritually and inwardly is far more. And, since we're talking about magic and the spiritual abilities and benefits I gain are far greater when it comes to the holy book than when it comes to like different occult manuscripts. Because at the end of the day, the ultimate power is Allah, not a king jinn, not any of these. And these beings, they believe in God. They recognize him. So do not think that only because you don't believe in God that Jinn doesn't either. Because even the devil recognizes God. Not talking something religious. I'm not trying to like push people to religion. Of course, I want people to be religious. And some people need to understand that Jinn and magic, they're not solutions. Solution comes from God, self-enhancement. Everything else is like a tool. It's interesting, I get it. Till this day, I find things that amaze me. But don't get so deep into it that you lose your roots. You lose God. Because when you get dependent on magic and jinns, believe me when I tell you this, you have just signed your life away. You sign your luck, your blessings, it's just gone. It's not going to last. And nobody wants to live a life where, you have no blessings, no luck. Just don't get involved into a point where you lose your connection with God, because you will regret it. And I know an individual who is one of the strongest practitioners I know. And he says pretty much, damn the day that jinns came into my life, because my life is nothing but broken. I met very wealthy practitioners. They were religious. I'm not saying they were, monks or sheikhs or, very holy, but, they were religious. But people that I've seen who were strictly involved with jinns say, damn that day that they came into my life.
I cannot think of a better note to end this interview on. And once again, I want to sincerely thank you on behalf of all my patrons, all our listeners. This interview has so much value. I have not come across a single interview of someone who is experienced, who knows what he's doing, who's dealt with different types of entities, who is willing to tell the truth as it is, whether you like it or not. We have touched on many subjects, and it's all to the benefit of our viewers. So thank you. Thank you so much.
There you have it, people. Asking the hard questions, breaking down misconceptions, and seeking important clarifications. That's just what we do here at AHM. Our guest today has blown my mind many times over, not just by this information's rarity, but also his honesty and sincerity. And I am humbled to have had Ali as a guest today, someone who's not only knowledgeable and experienced, but also willing to share candidly about a system of magic that still remains shrouded in mystery until this day. And it's all to your benefit, our dear listener. Now, if you want to know when the next one will air, subscribe to the channel and make sure you hit that notification bell. Also, I don't know if you've liked this. Ali neither. So if you did, let us know by hitting that thumbs up button and leaving your thoughts in the comments section. If you're interested in Arabic magic, as I mentioned previously, check out my Patreon, or you can start by joining the thriving community on Facebook. The group's name is Arabic Theurgy and Magic. That's actually where we first met, me and Ali. Lastly, I want to express my sincere gratitude to every single one of my patrons whose support makes this podcast possible. Thank you to each and every single one of you, and may God's peace and blessings be upon you. Ma'as salama, and see you all on the next one.